We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by FanDuel. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. If you feel behind, that's okay. We have our locks of the week for you today, position by position. These are the players that you have to have exposure to on the main slate for NFL Week 12. Going to bring it all together at the end to build a optimal DFS lineup live.
I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. And we also have another slate of fantasy football.
Yeah, it's like Thanksgiving week. It's like a miserable situation from a content perspective. But for you guys out there that are watching these videos, we basically get two main slates in one. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The new listener league should be up right now, FanDuel.com/Holka. So make sure you guys get in there. 2-for-1 on the listener leagues this week as well. But let's not waste any more time, Reeves. Let's jump right in to the quarterback position. We have Tom Brady at the Indianapolis Colts. He's 8,200 on this slate. So we're paying all the way up at quarterback. I think there's going to be a little bit of value that makes that possible. But Brady's someone that I absolutely am willing to take the L on. He's just been so good this year. I believe he's like pretty close to the overall quarterback one, and doing that without any really rushing equity whatsoever is pretty impressive. So tell us why you like him.
Yeah, and this is a unique slate because of the Thanksgiving slate always kind of throws a wrench into the main slate. And this year we have bye weeks also. Last year we didn't have bye weeks. So if you think back, on to Thursday, we already had Josh Allen play. We already had Dak Prescott play. We've got Lamar Jackson on Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes is on bye, thank God. Kyler Murray's on bye. So the quarterback position now has been kind of stripped thinner on this main slate.
Just 10 games.
Yeah, just 10K. And Jalen Hurts is the most expensive quarterback. We made it, guys. Most expensive quarterback on the slate. We're looking for our quarterback locks. I think there's some good, opportunities here, but no one sticks out to me like Tom Brady on this slate. You have the guy that leads the NFL in touchdown passes against the defense that's not the most touchdown passes in the NFL. I'm going to draw that 1-for-1 corollary and kind of just sink into that.
You don't have to be good at math or data to understand that those pieces come together, Reeves. I like it.
Yeah, and the Colts were good against Josh Allen last week, but obviously, that could be more of a one-off. Game script leads to things. They're still 29th in points allowed per pass attempt, 31st in passing points allowed per game, and they've allowed multiple passing touchdowns in 8 of their 10 games. Tom Brady has multiple passing touchdowns in 8 of his 10 games passing, and in each of his past 5 games. There's not a lot of analysis to sink into. We want to make sure that Mike Evans is able to play. He did aggravate his back towards the end of that game on Monday night. So keep tabs on that. But other than that, we know they're going to throw the football. Brady's kind of going to make this MVP push here. And I'm looking at this slate, and he's the most attractive guy to me at the top because I think you'll see he's sandwiched right between Hurts and Cam Newton.
Yep. It looks like they have the highest total on the slate, at least at the time of this recording. So definitely an offense that we want to get access to. And now that Gronk is back, Reeves, I think sometimes people might be a little bit paralyzed by who to stack him with, which makes his ownership, even be more depressed at times. So I love the Brady stacks. Again, another one of those teams that we're really focusing on that pass the ball a ton. Their average or their pass rate above expectations always extremely high, and they're going to keep that pedal down, which is something that we really like from a fantasy perspective. Let's move it right over to wide receiver, Reeves, because your wide receiver lock of the main slate is actually in this game. We're talking about Michael Pittman. He's 6,600 against the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's a really nice price tag for him. And we know that, again, on the other side of the ball, people don't really like to run as much against Tampa Bay. So it leads to more pass attempts on the other side. It also is a situation where game scripts usually in favor of the passing side, and everyone's kind of, basking in their glory if you played JT last week. So Michael Pittman, maybe he's just too cheap in a pretty good spot, right?
Yeah, and we built a JT lineup with the Bills last week, and the Bills side unfortunately didn't get there for me, but it did work out, and we got there. Now I wonder if people are going to overcompensate on JT, right? Because the price goes up, he plays the Bucks, and people are going to say, "Ooh, everyone did this last week," and they said, "Oh, we could play Jonathan Taylor."
How many people have been like, "Oh, you got to play him against these bad defenses. He's Derrick Henry light, like Buffalo. We can run on whoever we want." And then this week, it's like, okay, do I really believe that? It's Tampa Bay, so here we go.
But I wonder if it will actually see what happened.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Short on time this week, so I want everyone to know that there are a bunch more videos for the 3-game slate on this playlist right here, and we'll see you guys on Sunday. This is where we're at, Reeves. It used to be a moment where, these buy low guys were always low owned, didn't matter, people watching box scores. Now we have to game theory bros on the other side of that. We've literally come full circle. It's a joke.
Look at us. Who would have thought? Yeah. But, because you have to throw the ball on the Bucks. It's hard to run on them. They're really good against the run. And and they, even if in a good version of Jonathan Taylor, so since Todd Bowles has been at the Bucs, they've allowed 300-yard rushers. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're going to make it a point of pride to stop Jonathan Taylor, especially coming what he did last week. I know that's a little bit narrative-y, but like, what do you think the Bucs defensive room is talking about all week?
Oh, 100%.
We're not getting 5 touchdowns put on us. And Todd Bowles, oh man, he would eat his face if his defense gave 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy, and I always like to kind of bring this through to the data as well. So if we run the sims for this slate, like Jonathan Taylor is only in 13% of the optimals. He's 9,800. So like there are many plays above him. Like it's not that you can't play JT in this spot. It's just like it's a really tough price tag and a really tough spot. And I think there's going to be like, if you're going to ask me if I'd rather play Christian McCaffrey at basically the same price, like Christian McCaffrey, the number one player in the optimals, if we simulate this 10,000 times. So yeah, man, I'm totally with you. And I like the Pittman side of at least this game in particular, right? So easy bring back on the other side of these Brady stacks, I think.
Right. And he's got, his price is great. Even if he had only had the 5 targets last week, it was still 25% of the team targets. He still leads the Colts in end zone targets. It's just kind of of one of those things that's just too cheap. He fits the game theory side on both sides. One of kind of getting off of the Jonathan Taylor side and then just swerving into the passing equity side. The Bucs have been pretty good at defending, targets to wide receivers, but the fact is teams have to throw so much against them. They face 22 targets per game to opposing wide receivers. It's the 6th most in the NFL. So I look at his pricing and the way I think the game script will play out, even with the Colts being a good run team. And even if Jonathan Taylor has 18 carries for 90 yards or 88 yards and attacks on his, 20 receiving yards and has a good regular fantasy game, it doesn't get there for the 10K. This is a game where I still want to have the bring back be the cheap kind of pass catcher on the Colts side that has all the touchdown equity of a Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I think that makes sense for sure. And I skipped right over your running back lock of the week.
Well, that was the same game. It made sense.
Yeah. So we do have A.J. Dillon at 6,900. They didn't really move his price a ton after kind of an underwhelming performance. They are against the Rams this week, but great price point, and he is the 4th highest optimal rate player in the Sims right now. Devonte Adams actually is number 2. So maybe going back to the well with Green Bay across the board in this spot might make a decent amount of sense, even though most people I don't think are going to go there against the Rams.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon, just the fact that his price went down last week is very befuddling to me, and maybe it's just I have to assume his ownership was through the roof. It definitely wasn't the contest I was in. Everyone played Myles Gaskin, A.J. Dillon, and Jeff Wilson.
Yep.
The thing is although people will look at it as a disappointment because the chalk didn't get there, look at the underlying usage A.J. Dillon had. He played a season high 75% of the snaps. He had 81% of the backfield touches. That was the 10th highest among all running backs in week 11. The Packers were down 23-10 in the third quarter of that game, and he still wasn't scripted out. He had a 19.5% target share. He had 6 catches for 44 yards. He had the 4th highest target share among running backs this week. He wasn't even able to be scripted out of the game that they were trailing. To me, that screams, oh, this guy is a bona fide bell cow at 6,900, one of the best offenses in the NFL. I'm going to lock that in on the price drop. And if anybody wants to move off him because he was somewhat disappointing because he was so chalky and the chalk didn't get there, I want all of it. Just put them all back in all my lineups.
I don't think there's anything else really to say about it. I think he's just too cheap for the workload. And man, he's going to continue to be active in the passing game. We said it last week. It's literally still the same thing. Like if Aaron Jones was like basically in this game, he would probably project worse than A.J. Dillon is projecting because A.J. Dillon's going to get all of it, right? So I think we can move on from that. There's a trio of tight ends we're going to talk about today. We have Kyle Pitts, 6,600 at Jacksonville. We have Dallas Goddard at the New York Giants at 5,900, and we have Pat Freiermuth at Cincinnati for 5,300. So a couple of cheap options, but also I think maybe things have gone a little bit too far on Kyle Pitts. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, the offense is kind of folded in on itself a little bit here.
True.
But Cordell Patterson's projecting to come back, it helps them out. Because remember last week he got the Belichick only tool in the cupboard kind of treatment. Mm-hmm. He faced help coverage or was double teamed at almost double the rate going into that game on last Thursday night. So you do get Cordell Patterson to kind of alleviate things a little bit with him coming back. Also, he's getting this spot against this Jaguars team that's just been so bad. And the thing is the Jaguars are really good against the run. I was kind of trying to talk people out of Jeff Wilson a little bit last week because of it, but he still should have gotten there because he was wide open on a touchdown pass in the first drive of the game.
That was one of those situations, Reeves, where like I knew it happened and I didn't see it, but as soon as I saw the replay, every time I see it after that, it's just that much more painful.
And Garoppolo has been playing well, but those are the things he does that make people constantly be like, yeah, this is why we can't trust you.
Yeah.
Like, because he should be able to throw that left-handed. Like
you should be able to kick it to him at that point, literally.
Right. But this Jaguars team they're a little bit of a pass funnel. They're not fully there because of the game scripts they're in, but they are awesome against the run. And they force teams to throw. And this is probably a game that's going to be a more neutral game script because the Falcons aren't going to really blow anybody out either. And the Jaguars have just been so bad to opposing tight ends that I think people are going to overlook Kyle Pitts because of his price, the recent performances. But I do think that with Cordell Patterson coming back, there's a lot of upside for him. I don't think he's necessarily a lock. I think he's more of a tournament play because of his price and his upside. But I absolutely am intrigued by going back to Kyle Pitts this week. So he's not the guy Jake would have picked with me putting on the Jake lock hat.
Well, let's talk about the guy Jake would have picked then. I didn't force Jake to come on because obviously the Thanksgiving week, like we said, it's crazy for everyone. Obviously, Jake did our breakdown for the Thanksgiving slate. So Reeves is double dipping a little bit here. But I believe you said that if you were Jake, you probably would pick Pat Freiermuth against Cincinnati at 5,300, right?
I do think that's who he might have gone with, given his price, and that now that Eric Ebron looks like he's going to miss the remainder of the season. With Eric Ebron out of the lineup, Pat Freiermuth ran a pass route on 65 and 80% of the dropbacks. He already has 6 or more targets in each of his past 5 games. And he leads Steelers in end zone targets over that span. And on top of it all, he faces a Bengals team that has been one of the worst teams at guarding tight ends. They're 22nd in yards allowed per target to tight ends. They're 20th in touchdown rate to tight ends. So at his price, no Eric Ebron, I believe that we're going to see Pat Freiermuth be pretty significantly owned as kind of the cheap guy to unlock everything this weekend.
I'm curious just quickly, like give me 30. I know this is not your wheelhouse, Reeves. Give me 30 seconds or less on Dallas Goddard and why he's not getting enough respect right now for his target share.
Yeah, real easy. If you look at the last 3 full games he played, because he left 2 weeks ago with concussion against Denver, he's been number one, and number one among all tight ends in tight end target share. He's 5,900. Only reason he hasn't gotten there is because the Eagles have been able to just run the ball ad nauseum. You just need to run into 1 week where they have things just not go their way, game script, maybe a defensive turnover. Something happens to where they just have to throw more because he's getting used like an elite tight end, and it's kind of going under the radar a bit, but he's being used like literally no other tight end in the NFL if they just have to throw the football more.
Yep. In the Sims right now, the only tight end that is projecting higher in the optimal rate than Dallas Goddard is George Kittle. So definitely an interesting way to save salary. Don't hate that one whatsoever. Let's build a quick lineup here, Reeves. This would be a lineup that we would normally build with all of the guests, but you might be the only one in the listener league with this one so far. So I'm going to let you kind of run with this. Do you want to go with Brady on this team? I guess we can start there.
Yeah, sure. We talked about it. We might as well, I like to build the lineups over the things we did the segment on. So We'll do Brady.
I'm going to bring a Pittman on the back of that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there, I guess if you were to pair Brady with 2 guys, because I'm not a single stack Brady person, you know this. So if we were to go with 2 guys on the Tampa Bay side, do you have any guys you would prefer?
I mean, since Antonio Brown's been out, I mean, we've seen it's just a 2-man game. Well, now it'll be a 3-man game with Gronk. We saw it on Monday night. I'm sorry, but none of these ancillary receivers have stepped up, right? Like Tyler Johnson's, it hasn't happened for those guys.
It's great.
So
great for us.
It's been kind of Evans and Godwin, and now we add Gronk to it. So I mean, I would say just for the time that we're recording the show and not fully knowing what's going on with Mike Evans' back injury, we would just do Godwin. And I don't know if we want to lock in the tight end spot though, do we?
We don't have to. We could single it. I guess I just want to see the price for Fournette is 7,100. So we could, I guess, add Fournette to that. I mean, it's still fine to single. It's not something I normally do, but yeah, I don't know if we can throw Evans in just yet. We could add Gronk to it unless you want to go with one of the tight ends that you talked about instead.
No, I'd be fine still going with Gronk and seeing what we have and just letting those other people know that they can make those moves to Kyle Pitts or
since this slate is very fresh for me. I know a little bit less fresh for you because you've already finished the worksheet, but the first thing I'm doing at defense is I'm seeing who is the cheapest home defense. We have Cincinnati against Pittsburgh at 3,300. We have the Giants against Philly at 3,400. Miami against Carolina, 3,400. Do any of those guys at the very bottom stand out to you, or do you have a cheaper defense that you wanted to get thrown as a placeholder instead?
Looking at it right now, I would say maybe the Chargers are the best cheap defense, but
let's go with them. They're right kind of in that range. We'll let
you
people...
got Atlanta at 38.
Yeah, if anyone is watching this, by the way, once I'm a little bit more caught up on Sunday morning, I do have my show at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We can talk through all of this stuff with more ownership context as well. So definitely join us for that live. So 6,800 the rest of the way now. So tons of salary to work with.
Did we put Gronk on this or no?
I have Gronk. Yeah. So right now we have Brady, Godwin, Gronk, and then we have Pittman coming back, and then the Chargers defense. So we still have two running back slots to fill. We could go Dillon in one of those slots if you want. That would free up some salary for sure if you want to go that
route.
We'll
definitely plug Dillon in then on this one.
Okay.
This game, we're not doing a main slate video this week where all the matchups are, but the interesting component of that Packers-Rams game is, obviously Joe Barry has worked with the defensive coordinator for the Packers, has worked with Sean McVay the last 6 years prior to this year. So if any defense is going to kind of know what the Rams are going to try to bring out of the woodwork, out of the bye, you would think this Packers defense is going to be one. So it's a very nice wrinkle to that game. From a familiarity stance. All right, so sidetracked here, 6,800 rest of the way. What do we want to do?
So we need a running back, a wide receiver, and a flex as of now. We could probably pay for one of these premium options, but I think McCaffrey would probably handcuff us a little bit. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got a cheap guy here on the receiver side, like a guy that we could add to the fire here to free up some salary.
T. Higgins still so cheap. I guess I don't think I can do that one anymore.
You're gonna live that life again. You have to do that on your own. You can't do it no more on videos. Like you can no longer publicly rep T. Higgins, but you just keep playing him like everyone did with Robbie Anderson. Like there was a stretch where everyone stopped talking about Robbie Anderson, but they kept playing him. And I think that's what people are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's what's gonna happen with T. Higgins. Although I will say T. Higgins' peripherals still are really good, a lot better than. And he had 3 really good games. It's not like Robbie Anderson where he just never had a good game and we kept chasing it. T. Higgins, up until last week, still had 3 really positive games.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a receiver here.
I know.
Because he caught me off guard, and it's not great. It's really not great.
It's really not. Man, I was gonna see if we could fit in Cooper Kupp, but it's really hard to build at that point unless there was like a really cheap running back. So I don't love.
Yeah, at that point we would just play McCaffrey if we could fit in Cooper Kupp.
True. Who else would be? T is still the one that seems very cheap. Like, what about like a Van Jefferson at 5,400 with AJ Dillon?
With a little mini.
Does that make sense?
Well, what about we can get weird and just play Odell?
We could. How's Odell going to project? You think versus Van? Like they're both kind of playing. I guess I don't know that whole offense now is a little bit more muddled. But yeah, I guess like I guess it's pretty similar. And I think most people probably won't attack that game on the Ram side of the ball without Kupp anyways. So I don't mind the Odell.
I mean, it's super weird, but it's whatever.
All right, running back. We had a running back and a flex, 7,400. So now we definitely have plenty of salary to work with.
Yeah, we still don't have Christian McCaffrey salary though, unfortunately.
True. So yeah, I mean, we could add Fournette to the stack. I don't hate that. He's 7,100. We could play someone like, I guess if you want to go back to the well with Myles Gaskin at 6,200.
Don't want it. We got our cash out on Myles Gaskin. I'm definitely not going back to that.
Fair enough.
Because Myles Gaskin too, it's like he's the matchup guy, right? Like it's got to be there for him. Like when you look for it.
In terms of like ceiling guys at running back, it's really like I don't think we can afford Austin Eckler, but maybe.
I know. I looked at Eckler. I looked at Cook. I just don't think they give us enough salary.
Yeah.
On the back end, but then there's like a huge cliff.
Miles Sanders is popping a little bit at 6,100, which I don't love.
I mean, he's a touchdown or bust guy. He's a touchdown or bust guy. He's not catching any passes. So I mean, I don't hate him.
Gaskin's popping in the Sims a bit. Joe Mixon is popping in the Sims a little bit. Joe Mixon maybe if T Higgins is going to be popular again, unless you think people are just done with this guy. I'm not sure. His price is just so good that he's going to pop into optimals like every week until he hits there, right? So.
I mean, we could go back to Jeff Wilson, but I don't want Elijah Mitchell to then miraculously play in this video mean nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So
I would say though, if Elijah Mitchell's out, going back to Jeff Wilson because I mentioned the Jaguars' run defense being so good, he still had 20 touches. The Vikings are going to be missing Danielle Hunter, Michael Pierce, and Dalvin Tomlinson was just put on a COVID list. So they're going to be down 3 defensive linemen for that 49ers game.
So what's his price then?
He's 58.
58. So let's stay in that range if possible. We could just play Miles Sanders as a placeholder because he's reasonable.
We could say Miles Sanders placeholder for
one of the
Jeff
Wilson. For Jeff Wilson. All right, so then 8,700 in the flex. That gets us Davonte Adams if we want to go with AJ Dillon. Don't hate that. Or
we can keep stacking that. We can play Eckler. Yeah, I mean, I love all those guys. If we
lean into the Sims, Davonte Adams is the second highest guy in the optimal lineup. So let's go with him for now.